This is the Be the Solution podcast, and I'm your host, Maria Quattrone. And today I have a return guest and friend of the podcast, Jennifer Maher. Welcome, Jennifer. I'm excited to speak with you today
Thank
and jump into what you have going on. I have a quote specifically for you today. Every morning we are born again. What we do today is what matters most, according to a quote attributed to Buddha. Every morning we are born again. What we do today is what matters most. I
you.
picked that for you.
I love that. I'm a huge fan. I don't know if you know that I'm an ordained Buddhist priest. Not everybody knows that.
No.
Yes, I went
Okay.
through a 7-year course 20-something years ago, and Buddhism is really the center of my life, my practice, and who I am. It really is probably Buddha and John Cheplack are the two major influences on my transformation in my life. So I love that quote. I love that quote because I spent a lot of my life, my adulthood, with a lot of shame. I went through a lot of dark times in my 20s. I got pregnant under the worst of circumstances, and but that sort of changed me, woke me up. I was addicted to drugs and on the streets in my 20s. Really crazy, a lot of trauma, a lot of intense things. And I got pregnant under really bad circumstances with my daughter, and that just woke me up. And gave me, like, I felt a connection to this world finally, and an understanding of who I am and why I'm here. Becoming a mother kind of was the beginning of that. But I struggled for a long time. And then, when my daughter was probably about 10, maybe a little older, I stumbled across Buddhism. And that's where my personal growth journey really, really began. So, good
Wow.
quote. Perfect quote to pick. And that whole thing about every day is a new day. And every day you get the chance to be whoever you are. It really is all a choice. You get to choose who you want to be. You get to choose the life you want to live. You get to choose the kind of day you want to have, regardless of the circumstances. And once you can grasp that concept, and like I even dumb it down sometimes for myself, it's almost like you're in a movie and you get to choose what character you want to be, what role, what scene, the whole thing, the whole nine. You get to choose that. And so when you wake up in the morning, if you can set those intentions for who you want to be today, how you want to show up, and what you want to happen, you'd be amazed at the outcomes that come out of that.
If it was only so easy.
It's one of those things. It's not easy, but it's simple, right? That expression that I'm thinking of.
Yes.
Or it's not simple, but it's easy. Whatever. It is easy. But the thing is, it takes you out of your comfort zone, right? And so anything. So I don't know if you know who Dr. Joe Dispenza is.
I do.
Okay, so he has a concept about your personality creates your reality. And so if you want a new reality, you actually have to reinvent your personality. And so what I just spoke about is literally, but to create your reality, your personality has to match that reality that you desire. So that's where it's not easy, because we have so much programming, so much habit energy. Habit energy is things that we're born with. We're not even aware of why we do some of the things that we do and make some of the choices that we make. It's literally programmed in us. So that's the hard work, is reinventing. And even John Cheplack, I mentioned him a lot because he's both of our coach. You're coaching with him presently. I'm not, but his first book, I think his only book, was Interrupt the Pattern. And that's really what it's all about, is making different choices, creating new habits. And that's the part that's hard. But once you set that intention and decide, this is the life that I want, this is the person I want to be, then just aligning your choices and your habits to match that And once you get past that first part, it's kind of not any different than starting going to the gym, right? Or quitting sugar. But, sometimes it can be really easy. I gave up alcohol 4 years ago, John Cheplack inspired. And it's like if you do enough internal discovery of who you are, what you want, and you know how I ended up quitting drinking alcohol? I went back through my journals, and I had never done that before. I was pretty consistent journaler, but I never went back and read them. So I went back and read them, and it said, like, I wish I drank less. I wish I didn't drink. Just, it mentioned it a lot. And I didn't have alcohol related issues in my life at that time. Or, but when I read that, I was like, wow. And then I remember that night after reading my journals, I got home. It was a long day. I hear a voice in my head. And I never really had actually heard it say, yeah, have a glass of wine. And then all of a sudden I could realize, who the hell is that? It's obviously not me because I'm the one journaling. So that's when I was really able to hear, discern, and separate my thoughts from myself. Our thoughts are not who we are. They are the programming. They are society. They are all kinds of things, but they are not necessarily us. And so when you can really start to discern that, and that's where it's hard, that's where it's difficult, being able to separate that when these thoughts come through, like, and for me personally, my thoughts were always talking me out of my deepest desires. Like you're in ways like, well, you're not smart enough. You're not good enough. You're not rich enough. You're not skinny enough. You're not whatever. And so once I was able to begin to observe those thoughts as opposed to allow them to make the decisions and choices in my life for me, things changed. So good quote, Morgan.
Wow.
So much has changed since I was on here last.
Right? No longer, not in real estate.
No, still licensed. Of course, I'm still with EXP. I love still kind of, being in the world from the outside. But no, I completely transitioned into a business coach. And it's been amazing journey. And watching you guys in the industry has been interesting. You guys are going through a lot. It's tough all around. Nothing easy in real estate right now. But the good news is that the truly committed, the ones that get it, they're still here. And they're hanging tough and they're hanging strong and they're doing the right things for their clients, like you.
Still here. I want to know, talk about how you made the transition.
So,
why now?
So it really began for me through the pandemic. So for the last, I was in real estate 28 years or 29 years. And the last 10 years of my real estate career, when I met you, I was, recruiting, training, coaching, mentoring, and loved it. So then through the pandemic, I founded my local business council, the Putnam County Business Council. And I was no longer the chairwoman, but I was still like on the board as ex officio, and all the emails came to me. And real estate shut down. And then all of a sudden, these businesses are emailing the Putnam County Business Council, completely freaking out. I mean, freaking out. Such a high level of, now we're in a very Republican area, so there was a lot of anger with how New York was handling the pandemic. Just everything was shut down and so on and so forth. So there was a lot of anger, a lot of fear, and I got to work. I was at my dining room table in heels, dressed as if I was going somewhere, and had webinars, podcasts, getting on calls one-on-one with business owners and walking them through not only being able to survive, but thriving through the pandemic. And then all of a sudden, I realized I was so lit up. This was what I was meant to do. And I kind of started, but then my business partner was not quite as alive as I was through the pandemic. And I ended up having to step in as COO of the entire company. And fast forward, I 10x that company from 30 million to 300 million, from 20 something agents to 100 and something agents. And 2 years, June of 2022, something happened and my business partner basically ambushed me, and I did not have everything in writing. And the next thing you know, boom, it's all blown up. My income, my investment, gone. And it was literally, I could feel the freedom. And there was no fear. Now, I did not have a ton of savings. I didn't have any savings. And I did not, I was just putting all my money into this company and, spending time with my family, living life, enjoying life. The money will keep coming. I'll get everything straightened out, blah, blah, blah. The rug ripped out from underneath me, and something changed in me. I had not 1 ounce of fear. And immediately the next day, launched my coaching business. Now, I had already somewhat launched. I was doing more mostly real estate related kind of things. And so I spent the first probably 6 months kind of trying to be in the real estate industry, real estate coach, but it blew me up the same way when I was doing what I was doing through the pandemic. And that's when I realized that I was kind of clinging to being a real estate coach out of fear, out of scarcity. So there was a little bit of it, right? Because that's my safety. And that's when I decided, no, I'm going all in and I'm going to work with all kinds of businesses. And I've been, building the plane while flying. And now I finally have landed on an amazing program that I've been doing mostly one-on-one with, the bulk of my business has been solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, and also, now have some small to medium sized businesses. I have one client that started his own physical therapy franchise and has like 40 franchises. But I now have taken about a dozen solopreneurs and entrepreneurs through this 6-month program that I have called Beyond Limits. And what I'm to, why I call myself a soulful prosperity coach, is to build a business that supports the life of your dreams, not the opposite. Because one of the things I have noticed, and I'm sure you agree, is when I'm speaking to business owners, they got into the business that they're in because they loved it most of the time, and because they wanted freedom. And the next thing you know, they hate their business, they hate their employees, they hate their clients, and they have no time. And we fall into that trap. And a lot of that is from that programming that I spoke about. It's about not being conscious of making decisions out of fear and out of scarcity. So thank God I had been doing this work. So, throughout my building of my coaching business, I've had several times where I had that wake up call. So the first was in the first 6 months when I realized I was trying to coach in the real estate industry, that wasn't me up, but I was doing it out of fear and scarcity. So I made that pivot. And then I, knew in my heart that I wanted to be fully remote. And out of fear and scarcity, and out of the fact that I'm so well known in my area here, easy for me to get clients locally, but they all really wanted me in person. And I spent, almost a year acquiescing to that. And then beginning of 2024, I said no more. And I let go of $8,000 a month in income, which I really needed, at that time, but I didn't care. So that was the first time I really made a full decision without having financial insecurity or fears attached to it. And I can't even tell you the transformation that began when I was able to become completely untethered, as I like to call it.
Untethered, the untethered soul. There's a book.
Sure. Yeah, Michael Singer. Yeah. Amazing book. Read all of his books. He is amazing. I resonate so much with his work, and gave this courage to okay, so your bank account doesn't quite say that you should go to Portugal right now, but you're aligned. And that's what the alignment is all about, right? Who do I want to be? What is the life that I desire? And then you become impeccable with your actions, your choices, your habits. Not perfect, impeccable. There's a huge difference. And the difference is you're doing the best that you can with where you're at right now, with the tools that you have, the resources that you have, and skill set or whatever, right? Whatever you are right now. And so when you are completely aligned, then you can live in faith and just know. And the funny thing is, and I said this to you before we come on, so when I started to live in this faith, and I used to have like a not good relationship with the word faith because I don't have a great relationship with religions, or I didn't. I now do, to be honest. But I have realized that faith is really understanding your connection to the universe, to the divine, to God, that you are a reflection, you are who you believe in, whatever that higher power that you believe in. And so faith is really just knowing who you are, what you're capable of, how you're going to show up, and that no matter what happens, you're going to be perfect. It's all meant for you. It's all happening for you. It's all happening through you. And so we spend a lot of time judging. Like I could spend a lot of time judging, why did my business partner, why did that happen, right? I don't have to use victim language either. Like, why did he do that to me? I had a role in that. You know, I didn't do everything perfectly. I had no malice.
That's the thing. Like, people don't understand that we play a role
in everything. And so, yeah, I didn't have any malice. There was no, theft or like any of the things that were put out there, but I had a role. I contributed to that outcome. And that's another concept. Once I became 100% responsible for my circumstances and my emotions and the results of my communication, that's freedom. I think the freedom, we spend so much time as human beings blaming the circumstances, the people. What we're actually doing is burying ourselves deeper and ourselves. When we can just come out and be 100% responsible. And that does not mean being a scapegoat, because that was a pattern for me, being a scapegoat for people. Nope, that's not what that means. It means taking 100% responsibility for your part in everything.
I talked about that yesterday with somebody. I said, radical awareness, radical responsibility. And I said, okay, I'll give you an example. You're at the light. A car hits you. You're in your car. You're at the light. You're stopped. The car behind you hits you. Whose fault is it? Almost everybody. I'd say 90, probably 5. I'm gonna say 90% of people say the car behind you. I said, oh, it's your fault because I was there. So let me give you another example. I'm holding a cup of coffee. I'm holding this cup of coffee, and I'm standing here, and somebody walks over. I'm standing. They trip, they fall into me. The coffee pours all over me, and I'm wearing all white. Whose fault is it?
You chose to wear white. You chose to have the cup of coffee. You chose to be there in that space and time.
Right.
I almost think that if we get rid of the word fault and just understand, right? And that's been my greatest practice in the last year, is letting go of the judgment and the labeling, good and bad. So, oh, this is bad that this coffee spilled all over me and that my white thing is dressed. You have no idea. Maybe you having that coffee spilt all over you and now you have to go change. Maybe that saved your life. Maybe there was a truck about to come by, had you gotten your car right then, or, whatever. You get what I'm saying. Or maybe when you went to change your clothes, you call that you would have missed. That was an opportunity of a lifetime. But we're so busy judging whether something, a circumstance, a person, a behavior is good or bad. That's not where we're not attached and connected to the divine when we are doing that. Because listen, And we judge even things in the world that are happening as good and bad. If you just study nature, nature has violence, nature has chaos, nature has every single element that there is. But meanwhile, we spend our time judging human nature. It's all necessary. The ugly, the beautiful. There's no without a negative. It doesn't exist. But yet we want to like just spend all our time focusing on the negative. And what we're doing is actually missing out on the other side of that. And thing with ourselves, when we deny the ugly sides of ourselves, the dark sides of ourselves, the not so perfect, the shadow parts of ourselves. And that's one of the things that really bonded me to John Cheplack too, because he the book that he recommended. But when I first got off the streets in my 20s, I read this book called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers by Debbie Ford. And John recommends to his clients another book, but it's like Debbie Ford, Deepak Chopra, and somebody else, but it's also about shadow. Yeah, the shadow. And so I had the book when I first got off the streets, and I read it, and it impacted and resonated. But the true shadow work did not. I just did 2 years of deep shadow work after the business blew up, and then my husband and all of that, like really trying to understand my patterns and who I am. So my point is, when you deny your own what perceived bad parts of yourself or negative parts or blah blah blah, deny that the potentiality, or even when you're judging others like, oh my god, I would never do that, and I would never do this, you are also denying the potentiality of the greater good. So anytime you're denying your capability of bad things, you are also denying the other side of that. And so if you can get to a place where you're not judging what's good and what's bad, you just are part of this universe and you're going with the flow and you're adjusting, but yet you have your intentions very clear. You know who you are and who you want to be and why you're here. It's just beautiful, right? That's where it comes from. But we spend so much time judging. I can't believe this coffee spilled all over me. This ruined my whole morning. Meanwhile, you have no idea that maybe you were just saved. Or this opportunity would never have come across if that coffee didn't get spilled on you. We don't know. Sometimes it'll happen and it's crystal clear, but I would say 99.9% of life happens without us knowing what a beautiful gift, what a miracle it is, because we're too busy judging. And that's a hard one. So I lived with both my daughters and my granddaughter. And boy, is that a practice in not judging, because, as a mom, we judge, we're scared, and it's really about us, and we want them to be okay, and we worry and we love. What we're really doing is judging. And so I got a great opportunity to be able to observe. And you can have an opinion, but you don't let it affect you. You then don't start manipulating and controlling and fixing because of your judgment.
Wow. There's a lot. That's a lot. But it's what it really is about. And I think a lot of times we go through life unaware. Even aware people go through life unaware. I'm aware, but I'm still unaware.
Yeah.
I'm aware. Yeah. I'm going to take responsibility, but I'm still unaware. And I also find myself, like, if I look at somebody, I'm like, what are they thinking? Right? So I have to, I literally catch myself and go, no judging. Yeah. I'll see eyebrow things, I'll hear nose things.
We wouldn't need any Botox if we didn't judge.
Tat it up, face tat it. Arms are one thing. Face.
Oh, yeah.
Big fat ear things. I'm like,
what? I get it. But, live and let live. And if you go back to what I said earlier, if you go back to what I said earlier about if we view this, my daughter's very woke young lady. She's a lesbian. She came out of the closet. She's the most feminine, beautiful woman you'll ever see. And we live in a very Trump-centric area, and they're like so up in flames about drag queens and all of this, and they've like popped up shop across from her boutique, and she spent like a year of being like very angry. And then I just said it to her. I'm like, no, honey, they got to choose their role. Think about how much fun it would be to come into the world and be so, dedicated to something, or a belief, or a person, or a cause, or this, where you really don't care what anybody else is thinking, and you're driving around with your Confederate flag on your truck, and all kinds of extremes, and you don't give a flying F. I'm like, how much fun is that? They're not thinking about you. They're not worried about you. Now you do the same thing with your role. You decide, but don't allow to impact you, and you don't impact them. Just stay out of judgment. They're doing them, and all of it is necessary. And so when we're judging it, we're missing out on the other side, the potentiality of the good. And also when we're focused and judging on the negative side, what we perceive as the negative sides of people, like what's happening with the Democratic Party right now with Trump, they're making whatever they perceive as negative a greater reality. Whereas if we were taking, was now like, oh, we love that Trump did this, and we love that Trump did that, and only focused on the good part, that everybody has good and bad. But if you're only hyper focused on the negative, that becomes a much larger reality. And who is it harming?
Well,
Who is it harming?
confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias, big time, and that's the state the world is living in right now, and it's mind blowing, and it's heartbreaking. I saw somebody, and I'm very neutral here. Like I just am. I probably always have been. I don't hate Trump. I don't love Trump. I don't love the Democratic Party. Right now, I see more. I mean, in New York City, like, to put up Cuomo for mayor, you just betrayed like entire party. Like, this guy did some bad things as governor, and it was very public. They put him up for mayor. So I try to stay out of that and judge that. But of course, there's a part of you that's going to go in there. I forgot the point that I was going to make, but just, not being in that space and not allowing it. But that doesn't mean be passive. It doesn't mean not care. It doesn't mean, don't do your part. It just means don't allow it to affect you. affect you, where your choices and you're sacrificing your health, relationships, and joy, and your presence, being on the phone, checking the news all day and all that. Like, no.
Can't do it. It doesn't allow you to move forward. Then you're just stuck in a little circle. It goes around and around. There's no movement. So being all energy's constantly moving. Even if I have my hand out like this, it doesn't look like it's moving, but
Right.
there are little things that we're always moving. So how do you stay around the good, positive energy? And that's what I try to do. I do try my best to do that. I don't always succeed, but I try. And I think there's, trying and getting better, and trying and getting better. And it's a process.
I mean, with my clients, I make a weekly activation, be able to purposefully step into the highest and best version of yourself, which is the highest frequency energy that you can tap into. Gratitude is the ultimate space to live in. And if you are judging, you're not in gratitude.
Not in gratitude.
You can't be grateful and angry at the same time. You can't be grateful and sad at the same time. You can't be grateful in almost anything. You're grateful and you're grateful. And I'll tell you the story. Remember, like maybe 10 years ago, they started coming out with the word of the year. And like, as I was coaching more and more, I was so judgy of this. I'm like, word of the year? I have like 50 words that I want to embody, that I want to be part of my values, and blah, 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 blah. Right. So see it coming out. I'd like roll my eyes, like, one word. Come on. And then it came to me. My word is grateful, and it will be every year. And when people say, how are you doing? The best response, because, like, I've had a lot going on. And so when someone says, "How are you doing?" your brain starts going. But if you immediately go, "Grateful, grateful, that's how I'm doing," you feel it physically shift everything in you. So that's my recommendation. Stay in gratitude, and go beyond just a gratitude list. Like, show it, like you got me thinking about John Cheplack today. So there will be a message to John. I love you. I'm grateful for you. And thank you for how you've impacted my life. Like, embody the gratitude. Don't just write it down on a book.
Embody gratitude. I think about that and talk about it all the time. Being grateful. Being grateful. I read something, actually, I listened to it with Ed, my dad, about in order for you to be born, about 4,200 people or so came before you. Ancestors.
Yeah.
Your mother, your father, your grandmother, great grandmother, great grandfather, great 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 great. It's 4,200 plus people sacrifice and had to live. I mean, be born for you to be born.
So true. So true. You
And
know what?
so responsibility, I believe, to be the best that we can. And my word happens to be, and I do the word of the year. It's impact, and impact, and I think like impact others. But as I'm seeing it right now, and we're more than halfway through the year, I'm like, what about impact myself?
Yeah. Oh my God, Maria. Once I put myself first, which John Cheplack really helped me with, I became a better mother, a better coach, a better friend, a better daughter, a better everything once I put myself first. I am a recovered people pleaser, and I did not know it. And really, we think we're people pleasing for everybody else, but I was people pleasing because I was insecure, didn't think people would love me if I didn't do everything for them, and blah blah blah. That is an empty cup. I was pouring from an empty cup for the bulk of my adult childhood. So that putting yourself first, key, crucial, self-care.
Oh, so critical. It's so critical. I love it. You're like, it's amazing to see you. You look amazing, sound amazing. You have so many good things to share. I love it. You are the solution. You are being the solution for your life. And I'm grateful.
I'm grateful too. Thank you. I'm so glad that you asked me to be on. Really good stuff.
Amazing. And I'm not going to forget about, I had no idea about the Buddha teaching. So that's crazy. I picked that.
But that's the divine in
I could
process.
have picked 1,000. There's 1,000 quotes. I pick
Yeah.
one every morning. I pick one for guests.
Yeah. Love it.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.